Hello, everyone. Welcome. Good to see so many of you. Good afternoon, everyone. We're just going to get started in a minute. Wait for everyone to load in. All right. We're going to go ahead and get started. It's great to see so many of you. It's wonderful to see so many of you, and a special hello to our early college leaders and faculty members on this call. Ellie, are we recording? We're all set to begin? Yes. Okay. My name is Marissa Cole, and I serve as the Director of Policy and Practice for the Massachusetts Alliance for Early College. We are an independent 501c3 dedicated to supporting the implementation and growth of high-quality early college in Massachusetts. Our goal is to close the college success equity gap in our state, and we couldn't do it without our Alliance partners, whose logo you're going to see on the slide here. As an organization, we are focused on 4 areas. We use our collective voice to advocate for supportive policy conditions and sustainable, predictable funding for early college. We listen closely to the needs of our early college practitioners, developing programming and resources for them so that they feel connected to one another and supported as they carry out their work. We look across the country for innovative practices to bring to Massachusetts. And importantly, we center the voices of young people, our early college students and alums and educators in our work. Ellie, next slide. We are a collective impact organization. Sorry, I can't see the slide, so I'm hoping you can. We are a collective impact organization, and we have 4 key strategies that you see on this slide. I'm going to go ahead and talk about what early college looks like in Massachusetts. While opportunities to earn dual credit have been in place for decades, the Early College Initiative in Massachusetts is formally 6 years old. Early college begins with a deep partnership between a high school and a college, where students take strategically sequenced, transferable true college classes during their regular high school day at no cost to them or to their families. Early college is focused specifically, but not exclusively, on students who have been historically underserved by our higher education system, students of color, low-income students, and first-generation college goers. The college courses in an early college pathway count for dual credit, and programs are built to at least 12 credits. But many programs go deeper to 24, 30, even up to an associate degree or 2 years toward a bachelor's. In addition to earning college credits, early college students graduate with the confidence, habits, and skills needed to be successful in college and career. They see themselves as college students, and they really believe in themselves. There are currently 55 high schools and 28 higher education institutions, both 2- and 4-year, public and private, that have state-designated early college programs, with many more in the designation pipeline. Becoming a designated program allows the partnership to access state grants to support the program's implementation. These programs collectively are approaching 10,000 students served during the school year. All designated early college programs are built around 5 guiding principles: equitable access, connection to career, guided academic pathways, robust student supports, and effective partnerships. We know that when done well, early college can have a significant impact, just not on the students it serves, but on their families, on high schools, and higher education institutions. Early college is about changing mindsets about who gets college. It's about equipping students and families with accessible information early on about the opportunities and choices available to them in high school and beyond. And it's about wrapping our arms around each student, supporting their academic and non-academic needs that help them to be successful once they matriculate to post-secondary institutions. We love hearing from our early college students that because of their success in the program, their sibling or cousin or even a parent decided to enroll in college. And as an aside, with the state's huge recent investment in financial aid, this can be a reality for more families. We also know that early college is working. This data from the March 2023 Early College Joint Committee meeting shows that early college students are more likely to enroll and persist in post-secondary education than a matched peer comparison group. As the initiative grows, more and more programs are thinking about outcomes and about quality, and more are interrogating their data to see who is getting served and who is being left out. In order to be truly focused on equitable access, programs need to focus on readiness, on preparation, on who we are leaving out of the pipeline, and how we are communicating with students and families early about their options. The inspiration for both today's discussion and the complimentary brief that is being released came from our early college directors. As they consider how to increase access to their program and serve more students, they also want to make sure their students are ready for the college level work. They know they can't grow their programs without focusing on building the pipeline into early college. And this includes thinking about all students, students who are multilingual, students on IEPs, those who may not have previously considered college level coursework. They also know that early college is setting students up for college and for career pathways that require rigorous math and other high-level courses. The Rennie Center's research highlights programs here in Massachusetts and nationwide that are focused on expanding and accelerating the development of students' foundational skills, particularly in ELA and math. We are grateful for all the practitioners nationwide who participated in this research, sharing their approaches, materials, and resources that you will see linked in the practice brief. The panelists joining us today represent 3 approaches that are included in this brief. We will hear from Dr. Adrienne Mims from the Calculus Project on how their programming builds prerequisite foundational math skills and supports students' development of a positive math identity. From Jay Pedrero at the Dearborn STEM Academy about how the Dearborn Early College Kickoff is starting in middle school to accelerate students in math and ELA by offering year-long classes and a college and career readiness curriculum. And from Carolina Rojas Pion, who will share how Bunker Hill Community College structures courses to support English language and multilingual learners entering into early college programming, using co-requisites and integrated courses that teach both college-level academic content and English language skills simultaneously. On behalf of the Alliance team, we are so grateful to our partners at the Rennie Center, Annalise, Alejandra, Ellie, and Chad, for their commitment to high-quality, usable knowledge for the field and for convenings like this one. Now I am pleased to introduce Annalise Bazade, Senior Director of Research, and Alejandra Zieger, an associate both at the Rennie Center, who led the research for this report.
Thank you, Marissa. As Marissa said, my name is Alejandra Zeiger, and I'm an associate at the Rennie Center. We're now going to share a high-level overview of our findings, beginning with the framing of our research. Every year, students arrive on college campuses lacking prerequisite skills and knowledge. To accelerate learning, early college programs must fill these gaps to ensure that students can access rigorous coursework. This is especially true of English language, arts, and math, as students without refined literacy skills may find learning gaps widening in college courses, and students who struggle to pass introductory college math classes face significant barriers to accessing preferred areas of study. Equipping students with the skills they will need in college prior to graduating high school will lead to a smooth transition. There's an opportunity for early college programs to engage students early in middle or high school, map out academic pathways that facilitate entry into college, and offer interventions when learning gaps create barriers to advancement. I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, Annalise Bazade, the Rennie Center's Director of Research, who will walk us through our key findings.
Thanks, Alejandra. I'm so excited to be here today and share what we learned from the research. We were so fortunate to get to talk with so many places that are addressing this challenge head on. We have students coming into our early college programs that, of course, have some gaps in their prior learning, and these students have a ton to benefit from early college. So I really encourage you to look at the report. It'll share much more than I have the chance to address today, but with that, we can dive into the next slide. So the first piece here is that there's no substitute for core instruction. When we met with different sites doing really great work across the country, this became really clear that when students have gaps in math and their literacy skills, providing sort of this just-in-time remediation is what needs to happen. When there are gaps in place, there's this temptation to really remediate rather than accelerate a student's learning. But there's tons of research that tells us that approach really doesn't help. So instead, for students to access that college level rigor, they need grade appropriate instruction in every class, no matter what their unfinished learning may look like. And a great way to accomplish that is by aligning high school and college curriculum to ensure that students are taught all their prerequisite skills and then fill gaps in real time to accelerate students' learning, which is really well accomplished with high quality instructional materials that often embed a lot of those strategies within them. But even when you have fantastic core instruction, some students are still going to need some extra support. And most of the strategies that we'll see there, and our report goes much more deeply into them, boil down to more instructional time in a more personalized manner. And what that could look like specifically is things like tutoring or school break, acceleration academy, summer break type programs that give students some more personalized and individualized content there. And I will shift gears to talking about some specific subjects. So the biggest challenge we heard when we met with different programs is math. And the real clear finding here was that there are these weeder classes. When students are wanting to pursue STEM careers, they're ready to go to college and really dive in that subject matter, but may have some gaps in their math learning, that they often face these barriers that keep them from really fulfilling their dreams and what they're aspiring towards. And what we heard from folks is that Algebra 1 is the big piece here. If students have really mastered that core content in Algebra 1, colleges can work with them really well to succeed in those classes. And there's a tremendous opportunity then in 8th and 9th grade to provide add the instructional time on Algebra 1. So just like that just-in-time intervention I was talking about on the prior slide, that becomes part of the course. So if a student has a gap in something they need to access Algebra 1 instruction, they're getting that real-time gap filling. So they have that grade appropriate instruction and they're able to not just pass the course, but really have a very solid understanding of what that content is and what those skills are that allows them to go to those higher level math courses that a lot of students are really eager to pursue during their time in early college programs, and then once they matriculate, fully into college. And then the next piece we heard about was gaps in reading. So when we were talking to colleges across the country, they shared that they're really well equipped to teach students writing, argumentation, research, analysis, some of those skills we really think of when we think of college level humanities classes. And some colleges are quite well equipped to teach students who are needing some more support with their reading, but there are definitely some gaps here. And one of the things we found from really successful early college programs is they're addressing this challenge head on. They're not saying, structured reading skills courses only end in the early grades. They're saying if our students don't have these skills, we're going to build them in as part of our early college programs. And one thing we saw here was some standalone reading courses, which were in addition to a typical ELA course, that were really grouping students based on what they need, often in quite small groups. And often students didn't need to be in these for a very long time. It was just really shoring up some of those skills so that they could do that college writing, research, really access the content they needed. And some programs were also doing some mandated tutoring or support blocks, so they could really help students in the context of their college level content. All right. And then the last piece we looked at was a co-requisite model. So we know that no matter how strong instruction and intervention are to get students ready, that there will be students who still arrive at, in their college courses, their early college courses, or their traditional college courses, needing some extra support. And we've also know that these traditional remedial courses have not worked for students and really have, in some cases, driven equity gaps. Co-requisites are a really successful model here that have been used in colleges across the country and in some early college programs. And what it means is that students who maybe traditionally would have enrolled in a remedial course are actually enrolling directly in a credit-bearing course. So that could be your credit-bearing college math course, credit-bearing college English course, and they have more instructional time, more credits, and more support. So often they may be working on a paper in an English class. And in addition to doing whatever happened in the traditional college English class, they have that more instructional time where they're working with their professor to really split up the writing of the paper into its component parts and get the support they need there. This strategy has been really effective for multilingual learners and a number of other groups of students, but it's one we're really excited about. And with that, I encourage you to dive into the brief and learn more, but now we're gonna transition into the most exciting part of our time here today, which is hearing from the wonderful panelists we have with us who are doing work in programs every day to serve students. So with that, I will pass it over to Chad.
Great. Thank you, Annalise. I'm a little embarrassed by that introduction because I don't think I'm the exciting part. I think it's the panelists we're about to hear from. But just to say hello to everyone, I'm Chad D'Entremont, the Executive Director at the Rennie Center for Education Research and Policy. The Rennie Center is an independent, nonpartisan, nonprofit organization. Our mission is to ensure educational decision-making is based on deep knowledge and evidence of best practice. And we work all the way from birth through adulthood, including on specific areas like early college. One great example of our work is the research findings just shared by Annalise and Alejandra. But another way we service our mission is by making sure that leaders in the field who are doing amazing work are able to share that with the broader community so it can inform practice statewide in a systemic fashion. So with that being said, let me bring on our panelists and ask them to turn on their screens and open up their mics. I'll be joined by Dr. Adrian Mims, founder and CEO of the Calculus Project, by Jay Pedrero, early college manager at the Dearborn STEM Academy in Boston, and by Carolina Rojas Pion, assistant director of dual enrollment and early college at Bunker Hill Community College. And one more time, just making sure that everyone has, turned on their screens. Great. Just so the audience knows, we're going to talk as a panel for the next 20 minutes, maybe 30, and then we're going to open it up for Q&A. There is a Q&A function, and you can certainly put questions or comments in that. I did note already we've got a question of where is the brief? It is coming. It will be put in the chat at the end of this webinar, just to make sure you're paying attention to the conversation, but will be shared shortly. Also, final administrative item, we have a tradition at Rennie of going light on introductions and heavy on content so we can share and learn, but we are putting bios for all of our panelists into the chat as we speak so you can learn a little bit more about them, and trust me, they are all very impressive individuals or we would not have invited them to join us. So thanks everyone, glad to have you here. Let's just do some level setting. Adrian, I'm going to start with you. Can you share a little bit about your program, the work you do, any impact you're seeing with the students you work with, and then we'll go down the line. Adrian, please.
So Chad, thanks for having me. So the Calculus Project started in 2009 in the public schools of Brookline. And so we actually just celebrated 15 years of the Calculus Project. So what we do, we implement 5 research-based components to accelerate students' learning in mathematics so that we can put them on a trajectory to taking calculus their senior year. Those 5 components are pre-teaching and accelerating students during the summer get so that they can preview the content. It's not a remediation program. It's pre-teaching the content that they'll see in the course coming in the fall, which is an honors level course. During that time, students learn how to work collaboratively in teams to support one another. There's also the peer teacher component of the program where we take our students who are some of the strongest students, train them how to work with the teachers to not only accelerate their learning, but to teach the younger students math. We also form student cohorts so that when they go back into their respective schools during the school year, they are placed in the same honors and advanced level math sections so that they can continue to help each other. There's the Pride curriculum, where students also learn about the contributions of STEM professionals of color to help strengthen their math and science identity. And the last component is the academic center. So if we're accelerating their learning during the summer, we want to keep them ahead of the game. And so they have additional academic support during the school year. So we have the program in about 10 districts here in Massachusetts, but also we have the Calculus Project and Leadership Academies on the campuses of Boston University, UMass Lowell, and Emmanuel College. And so that's a unique program where we're bringing students from all over the Boston metro area onto a college campus. They love it. They love the food. They love being around college students. And it's a great way to kind of plant that college going seed so that they'll know what it's like to be on a college campus, and it gives them something to aspire to. So we've been doing that since 2015. A lot of the students have even applied to BU, Emmanuel, and UMass Lowell, and they've been accepted there. So it's created a really great pipeline for those universities to diversify their student body.
Right. Thank you, Adrian. Let me stay with you for a second because, Annalise had shared two key findings from successful programs, not the only two, but two important ones. We're focusing on core instruction and targeting support. And it sounds like you're doing that. And one of the things that you mentioned was pre-teaching. I don't want that to slip by us. Can you explain a little bit more fully what pre-teaching is and how that is different than remediation?
Yes. So, for example, we have students who come onto the campus as rising eighth graders. So, if you're a rising eighth grader, the content, the curriculum that you're seeing is algebra. So, we're very strategic. We look at what is typically covered within the first 9 weeks of an algebra class, and we accelerate it. But what you'll see in the classroom, you won't see just one teacher in there. It's a team. There's a lead teacher, an assisting teacher, and their peer teachers. So when you go into a classroom, you may see 5 or 6 people in there because you really need to have that capacity to support and help those students. So what that does, it increases their confidence because when the school year starts, they've already seen most of the relevant content within the first 9 weeks. So they're already ahead of the game. So now the content is review and not necessarily new content.
Right. Got it. Thank you. Appreciate that. Jay, let me come to you. And can you tell us a little bit about what's happening at the Dearborn and particularly the DEC program? And for folks listening, that's DECK, DEC program.
Yes, yeah. Thanks for having me again. So the DEC program, or the Dearborn Early College Kickoff Program, is an early college program where we start middle schoolers in a summer accelerated academy where they take an hour of ELA, an hour of math, and an hour of college readiness to prepare them for our early college program, which begins in the 10th grade. The whole goal of DEC is to prepare students for their first college courses so they feel prepared and they don't feel lost when we release them onto the campus.
Right. And then I know one of the things about the DEC program, as I understand it, is you actually start in middle school. And can you talk a little bit about why that is so important? What strikes me is that seems as not an intervention, but preventative measures to put people on a path early. So can you talk a little bit more about why you see that as being important?
Um, we've noticed that a lot of times, so we already have an early college program here at the Dearborn, and a lot of our students, when they start taking their first college classes, they struggle a little bit mainly in math and ELA. So we figured that if we start a little earlier and start giving students uh, accelerated classes in math and ELA, that they will better prepare them for these courses later on. And these classes start in the summer, and we continue them with like electives throughout the year. So they're still doing another accelerated math throughout their 8th, 9th, and 10th grade up until the time we can fully release them and into the college.
Right. Thank you. One of the things I hear you saying is why early college can be such a powerful approach to strengthening students' educational experiences. It really does create an individualized pathway forward with a specific goal that students can see and aspire to. And now, as we talk about building those foundation skills, we don't have to wait for an early college to begin when credits are being earned, but really think about it as a longer pathway throughout their entire careers. Carolina, thanks for being patient. Appreciate it. I have some follow-ups, but let me just start with the basic. What's happening at Bunker Hill? Can you share with us?
Oh, well, it's exciting times for community colleges all across Massachusetts. I think we're looking at very exciting moments where we are going to be recruiting a lot of students, as you well know, and you have heard about Mass Educate and Mass Reconnect initiatives. So I think that our early college programs, and I am just going to speak on behalf of the program that I direct, which is the one with Chelsea High. So this is a program that is growing exponentially, and we're very excited about the years that are coming. We're excited about the students, the number of students that we're recruiting, and I think that we're starting to solidify our approach in terms of the collaboration and partnership with the District of Chelsea, and that makes everything more intentional. And I think that that's one word that you're going to hear from me a lot, being intentional about advising about collaborations, keeping an open mind to try new things, especially when we're working with underrepresented students like multilingual learners and low income and just new arrivals.
Right. And let me push a little bit on that. You just mentioned new arrivals at the very end. I know Bunker Hill is doing impressive work with multilingual learners and other students who may be coming to community college, for lack of a better way of saying it, somewhat of a non-traditional pathway. Can you talk a little bit more about the supports and the work that you're doing?
Yes, so I've been at Bunker Hill only for 2 years. So when I got into this position, I was able to see that we were offering some classes that were for English language learners. So the first thing that I realized was that attendance and was a little bit irregular. And I think I was trying to put 2 and 2 together and try to find out like what was going on. And I realized that a lot of our students that are immigrants and newcomers, they have jobs and they have really busy lives. So there was a conflict. So I was able to collaborate very closely with the department chair at the time, Jennifer Valdez, and I came up with a crazy idea. And I said, well, don't we try something different? Why don't we expand these classes that are 6 credits, that are credit bearing classes? Why don't we expand it into a year? So now we have these classes that originally were designed for 1 semester, and now they last for the entire academic year. And while we do that, we went from 4 days to 2 days. So students only go to class 2 days a week instead of the 4 days that they used to do before. So that has helped a lot with the conflicts with work and all the responsibilities that they have at home. Our attendance has improved, and now we're serving more students because now we have more sections that we can run that way. So like I said, and this is and again, with more students come more challenges. And at the same time, more ideas, and you gotta. I'm very lucky to work with creative people and come up with very creative solutions for very complicated challenges. And one of the things that we've found that has been working very well is having ACE mentors embedded in these classes. So ACE mentors are matriculated students who have probably taken these classes before, and they collaborate with the professor in the class, and they become a bridge between the professors and the students. So that has been one of the practices that we found very successful.
Right. Thank you for sharing. So I want to build on that and bring this question back to all of you. And it's to think about the student holistically. Annalise and the research findings shared, core instruction and targeted support being two key principles, but the other being addressing college success. And I think that can be defined in many ways, but let's just start first in sort of building up a student's social and emotional skills and competencies as part of their learning experience. So Dr. Mims, let me come to you first. I know that you use a cohort model at times. Can you talk a little bit about why that's so valuable and what types of connections students make to one another as part of your programming?
Yes, there's been a lot of conversation around math curriculum. That's only part of the equation, so to speak, to make sure that, students are successful. Students need to have a sense of belonging. We need to make sure that they're creating and building agency, but more importantly, they need to have resilience. And so with a cohort model, we know that students can learn just as much from one another as they can learn from the instructor. And so it's really about building community. And, when we started the calculus project in Brookline, I think, we underestimated the power of the sense of belonging, because what would happen, typically we would have roughly about 25 students who identified as Black or African American spread out across 8 to 9 geometry honors sections. And so what would happen, sometimes you'd have maybe one Black student, 2 or 3, but that was it. And sometimes they would withdraw from geometry honors to geometry standard. And so you end up with students who were isolated. They didn't have any friends in that course. And so what some of them would do, even though they could succeed in that course, they would deliberately drop down to geometry standard to satisfy that social need to be with their peers. And so what I learned through my research, Dr. Signithia Fordham coined the phrase racelessness, where students can actually thrive at a higher level, but it's more importantly for them to be in a lower level to satisfy that social need. So the cohort model was very powerful, because when we did that and we made sure that we had a critical mass of students in these honor and advanced level sections, they actually fought hard to stay in those classes. And literally, we went in 1 year in Brookline where 60 to 70% of the students would drop from geometry honors to geometry standard to 0, literally in 1 year. And some students who weren't even recommended for geometry honors wanted to take those academic risks. So those are the type of muscles, that we want to build with our students, to take those academic risks. And this is a great way to do that with the cohort model. This isn't anything that's really new. Uri Treisman actually did this years ago at University of California, Berkeley. So that's why when I talk about the components, we talk about how all of the components of the Calculus project are research-based.
Great. And it's an amazing impact and a useful reminder to me to remind our audience that there's a lot more information on all 3 of your programs in the brief. So please read it as soon as it's posted. Jay, let me come to you. Same basic question. You talk a little bit about how you provide holistic support to students over at the Dearborn?
Yeah, definitely. So part of the curriculum in the summer is that we have uh, field trips weekly for students, just to make it a little bit fun. It's hard selling to middle schoolers a math and ELA during the summer. So sending them on to college campuses or having like fun field trips to like the trampoline park, just to have build this sense of community, like Dr. Mims was talking about, I think is very important. We have a lot of Dearborn swag that we give out to students, just so they know they all have like their early college sweaters, their deck sweaters. I think that really helps them to identify with the program and see themselves completing this program and getting their associate's degree and seeing themselves in a college campus. I think all of this is very helpful. We do a lot of one-on-ones with students, just to do like temperature checks to see how they're doing. If there's anything that we can improve in the program, anything they want to see that's different in the program. I think doing a lot of these focus groups for students helps out a lot, because at the end of the day, they're in the program and they're the ones that are going to get the most out of it. We're just here trying to support them along the way.
Great. My youngest daughter was actually at a trampoline park this past weekend. So trampoline park does pretty much solve anything. Good other tip for folks. Well, Caroline, you sort of already answered this question a little bit talking about the ACE Mentor program, but I want to push on it for you a little bit in thinking about student support in a slightly different way. You're on the college side. I know sometimes for a lot of students, there's just the question, can I do college? This is a new thing. It seems daunting. How do you support students in developing that sense of self where they know that they're college ready and they're prepared to do the work and feel confident in it?
I think that that's a great question, and I think that our program, the approach that we embraced is pretty much assuming everybody's capable of doing college work. So I think we start from an asset-based approach, and I think that just we started with something like that, and just a little bit like it eliminates some of the prejudice that we all have about our students. So I think that just giving them the opportunity to prove you what they're capable of doing. And I tell students all the time during our orientations, like there's nothing like the feeling of passing your first college class. Like it is amazing. Like you're gonna feel amazing, and I think that they are looking for that feeling. I think the other reason, the other part that we're very intentional when it comes down to student support is the power of collaboration. I cannot tell you that there is one single thing that I do by myself. Like starting from recruiting, advising, applications, registering. Everything is done together with the fantastic staff from Chelsea High. We have a staff over there that is committed to make sure that the students are successful from the beginning to the end. And at the same time, on the edge of the college, I collaborate with other divisions, advising admissions. So I think that there is so much power in doing this holistically. And then it comes down to the actual classes and the actual conversations that I had with faculty. So I can tell you that I speak with faculty every day, sometimes even before and after class. And we discuss about student performance. They share with me concerns that they have about students, or they share with me something the student needs. Some of our faculty help those students beyond academic needs. So they help them find jobs or drafting a resume. And sometimes I even learned about needs that of our students that have nothing to do with the college or early college. But I'm able to go back to the high school to reach out even a family liaison and be able to find something like a hotspot for a student who doesn't have a Wi-Fi at home. So I think that, so I would say that the reason why we have such a successful practices with student support, I think is because we collaborate and we do everything together.
Right. Thank you for sharing. I'm going to ask one more question to the group, but want to prompt the audience. We're going to move to Q&A right after this question. I've got a couple have already come in. Thank you. I'll keep paying attention. We'll get to as many as we can and really sort of all first come, first serve. There's a little bit of an incentive for you all to put your questions in there. Final question I had is just acknowledging, students aren't, existing in the world by themselves. Their families are a big part of their lives. Sometimes it's because it's a source of support. Sometimes it's people they're taken care of. Can you talk a little bit, Jay? I might start with you, just sort of how you think about family engagement in your work.
Specifically for the DEC program, since we start so early, family engagement is very important. Just because it's something, middle schoolers can't really conceptualize just yet. You're like, oh, I'm gonna get my associate's degree in high school. I'm like, I'm barely in the 8th grade. So we do a lot of like we have family orientations, family dinners where we host with our higher ed, where we just sit down and break bread, talk about the program, talk about goals, of what families want out of the program, and just like having them very involved, because I think that helps students see themselves better in the program, you know, when they have the full support of parents, full support of guardians. And I think just keeping them involved, always keeping constant communication with parents is key in programs like this.
Thanks. Appreciate that. Adrian, any thoughts about family engagement?
Yeah, we have to engage the families because kids aren't knocking down our doors to do math during the summer. So we have to, make a compelling argument, and we do, to the parents. And it's as simple as this. If you can get your children in front of us and get your child in our program, we'll take it from there. It's not just about doing math all day, every day. It's about showing the connections. It's about building community relationships. And also, students see people who look like them who are in STEM fields. So we give this information to parents during the info session, and we enlist the parents as allies. The other thing I just want to add too is that one of the things that has helped us over the years to be able to grow and expand the work is that we've been doing it for so long that we don't necessarily have to sell it. We have parents tell other parents about their experiences and their benefits by participating in the program. And we have students, some of whom are now adults, some of them are math teachers, physics teachers, some of them are engineers, talking to our younger students because they were exactly where they are, now. So it's more or less making sure that we diversify our messengers and get them in front of the families and educate the parents. And that's how we've been able to enlist our parents as allies.
Right. Thank you. And Caroline, I know I don't want to overstate this because there's some overlap, but you're often working with students who are slightly older. Any thoughts there about family engagement?
Yeah, I think that for our population at Chelsea High, we have to take into account that most of our parents and families lack knowledge, fundamental knowledge about things like financial aid. And most of the times the notion of college is something that is rejected just because people don't want to get in debt. Right. So I think that, and especially now that we have initiatives like MASPA and the city of Chelsea has scholarships, and I know that there are other scholarships out there, especially for undocumented students, that information sometimes is being kept in silos. So it goes to certain amount of people, but it stays there. So what we have been doing in the past few weeks is trying to reach out to parents and to families and to caregivers and delivering this information in a way that is friendly, that it comes from a trusted place also, and it allows parents to reflect and understand that college is possible, that college is a viable option that is not going to necessarily leave you in debt.
Right. Yeah. Important, very important point. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to shift, and I have the Q&A chat box here and moving to audience. And so we'll do our best here. It's a little hard virtually, but I'll sort of throw the question out unless it's directed at someone, and please come off mute and feel free to answer if you think it's something you want to talk to. The first one is really just sort of what approach should high schools in general be taking to make sure that students are aware of early college programming, and even notes that sometimes this person has found that students are enrolled in early college courses and they don't even realize that they're earning credit at the college level and can become sort of disengaged. So how are you raising general awareness and maybe supporting students of what's happening when they're in an early college course? Any thoughts? Hey, Marissa, how are you?
Hi there. I can jump in on that one. But
Yeah,
I'm going to
go
also
for it.
throw it to Jay because Jay, I know that Dearborn does an excellent job through its onboarding of students and families. Do you want to talk a little bit about your expectations, forms, your contracts, your Zooms, your in-person sessions that you do with families and students to make sure they're aware and that it's a decision of theirs. It's not we're placing them. It's they are choosing this.
Yeah, sorry, my headphones cut off for a little bit. So But yeah, we do a lot of we do before registration, we do a big push into classrooms. And for like 5 to 10 minutes, we ask teachers if we could come in and we talk about our early college program, our benefits, what a course load would look like, the courses we offer, and we always phrase it with like an interest form at the end. Like, if you are interested, please fill out this form, and we don't try to make it like, oh, you're committing to something. The interest form is mostly just to have a conversation with either me or someone on our team to, talk about what an early college course load will look like for that student. And then if that goes well, then we follow up with the parents. We send them home with an early college contract, which basically lays out all the expectations we have for the student and the parent on what they need to be doing to be successful in the program and to stay in the program. And we don't really, we have open access. We don't really have a placement test or anything. As long as the student is willing to participate, we try to support them the best way we can. And we do weekly check-ins with the students. We also have a tiered system where, like, depending on how well the student is doing in the class, we do more persistent checkups. And I think just letting them know that you're there will help them persist in the college course, instead of just like be like, oh, here's your college class, off you go, good luck, see you in a couple months. But I think by showing them that, like, it's a whole school thing and not just a specific program in the school, really helps them to make the decision to stay and persist in the program.
Thank you. That's super helpful. Marissa, stay on, because I think there's another question that's going to come your way that you might be the best person to answer. But before doing that, Carolina, let me come to you. And there's a question about multilingual learners, since we talked about it earlier, and an acknowledgement that many college instructors don't have training to provide language support to multilingual learners in the context of their teaching. Is there any guidance or recommendations you might have about thinking about professional development or training to help college instructors better engage that population?
Yes, of course. So I know that there are several professional development efforts, particularly for faculty who are teaching courses like college writing one and ELL courses. But for classes that are content, like, for example, a biology class, human biology, or a personal finance class that is solely based on like is only instructed in English, right? But what our faculty are doing is again recruiting ACE mentors, which happen to be students who already took this class, and we're lucky to have population of students who speak different languages. So, like I said before, a lot of these ACE mentors are embedded in the classrooms, and they help bridging content and explaining content to the students in their own language. The other thing that works is we have faculty who speaks Spanish. We work predominantly with Spanish speakers, and we have faculty who speak Spanish as well. Even if they are teaching a class, the content is in English, they can go back and forth, and it works for our population. That works for our population. The other thing that I know, and maybe Marisa can speak more of that, is we have faculty who are very heavily engaged with the Massachusetts Alliance Massachusetts Alliance for Early College, and the professional development that they offered for our for early college faculty. I have heard from faculty like Carlos Maynard, who has been attending these workshops, and he finds this very, very enriching and very on point when it comes down to his own challenges in class. So I would refer this question and the person who has this question to look into these options, because they're there, and they're available for all the faculty to go and learn other ways. You're not the only one that is going through these challenges, and it's always good to find other person that has gone through that and that has found a solution, and maybe learn from each other.
Right. Marissa, did you have something to add?
Yeah, thanks, Carolina. We at the Alliance convene an early college educator advisory group, and Carlos, her colleague, is a fabulous faculty member who's been part of it. We're in our second year, and he just joined for the second year in our cohort. We have 14 early college educators who meet on Zoom, and they help advise us on policy, on advocacy, on educator capacity questions. I did want to flag, I have some colleagues from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education on, and they actually have an opportunity now for early college professional development with RTI as their partner. It's an incredible opportunity. I believe Renee and Danielle, you can correct me, but I believe it's still open for campuses, for early college programs to apply to participate in these professional development experiences and communities of practice. So they're doing a lot in this space. So I encourage you to look into those opportunities offered by the state as well.
Right. Thanks, Marissa. And actually, that tees up perfectly the question I was going to bring to you. But one, plug for the Alliance. It's a tremendous resource. So if early college is a bit of a new conversation for anyone on the webinar, by all means, go to their website, seek out their resources, reach out. But so there was a question about providing more detailed insight into collaboration and funding for these programs. And to be fair, that might be a little tricky to answer right now on this panel conversation. If anyone really wants to know about that, please reach out offline. But Marissa, I thought you might be able to share some of the resources that are out there, both to encourage collaboration and support early college programming that people could, that the state has sponsored, that people could go to.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think, everyone, all these programs are funded a little bit differently, but the state has 2 dedicated line items for early college. And early college, if you're a designated early college program, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, you can access the state resources. They are provided through both formula grants and competitive grants. So once you get to be a designated partnership, so a designation is a partnership. You apply if you're a high school, you apply with a higher ed partner, and then you can access the funding together, and that helps to support some of the operations of your program. And higher ed institutions get a per credit reimbursement once students have taken those early college classes as well. So there is support for both sides of the partnership.
Great. Thanks. Appreciate you sharing. All right, moving us along. Adrian, I'm going to come to you with this one. And there's a question here about college readiness skills, which is a little different than the social emotional learning conversation we had. Things like time management, communication. Can you reflect on, through your programming, how you sort of help students develop those skills so they'll be successful students in addition to sort of the foundational academic work that they're doing?
Yes, I mean, we have, our program is rigorous and we have high expectations for the students. So they have homework during the summer. We give them assessments, but it's not really in a stressful type environment. When we give them assessments, some of the assessments, we allow them to use their notes, because if you're going to be a successful college student, you need to be very organized. You need to make sure that you take notes, but more importantly, you need to know how to utilize those notes. So, we want students to learn the content, but we also want them to recognize the importance of utilizing those resources as well. So we're teaching students how to study in groups. In particular, if you talk to a lot of students who go off to college and they get a degree in STEM, they work on projects together. And so that's something that's very foreign to a lot of students, how to work collaboratively in groups to complete a project. So we have students doing that as early as 8th grade. And so imagine building those skills as early as 8th grade all the way through 12th grade, those skills of collaboration, taking notes, utilizing resources, also advocating for oneself. That's one of the reasons why we have peer teachers, because sometimes students, they're very shy. They don't necessarily want to ask the teacher questions, but they'll ask the peer teacher because the peer teacher is 2 or 3 years older. But we want them to grow in those areas so that they can advocate for themselves. So these are just some of the things that we build as part of the program so that they can develop over time and be ready to hit the college campus running. The last thing I just want to say too is with the Calculus Project and Leadership Academies, the fact that we're already on the college campus, we bring in college professors to come in and speak to the students. This past summer, we just had the Dean of Engineering at BU come in and speak to the students. So it's crystal clear about what the expectations are, and they're hearing it directly from the people on the campus. So that goes a long way.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate that thoughtful answer. One more here, Carolina, back to you, is a question just about who is teaching the early college courses. Is it adjunct and full-time faculty, or do high school instructors also teach early college courses?
At the moment, we only have full-time and adjunct faculty teaching, but we are looking into exploring the avenue of recruiting high school teachers. Again, because of what we are expecting to happen at college, community colleges all across Massachusetts, which is an increase in the number of students. And that is going to definitely mean a struggle to find instructors to teach sections. So that is an avenue that we're willing to explore in the future. But for now, just adjunct and full-time faculty.
Great. Thank you. So I think we have time for one last question. I'm going to do moderator's prerogative here and ask the question. My apologies to anyone who posted one that we didn't get to, but again, encourage you to reach out to the Alliance, reach out to the Rennie Center. Happy to make connections to our program representatives here and continue the conversation beyond this webinar. My main question is pretty straightforward. We've covered a lot of ground here and a lot of concepts. If there were one or two practices that you think people really should take away from this conversation, and if they wanted to get started on improvement right away, these are the things that they should focus on, what would you recommend? What are one or two practices people should really focus on to improve foundational skills for students so they're ready for early college? And whoever wants to come off mute first can answer the question.
I'll chime in. We've just seen great success with the pre-teaching to accelerate, because I mean, if you think about it, why is the school year 180 days? A lot of people don't know, but it's based off of the agrarian calendar. So if we think about the fact that it's not really based in research and we want to accelerate students' learning, that time is precious, is a precious commodity. So it's really about increasing that time, but also using that time effectively. So the pre-teaching and extending that time during the summer is very valuable. And also teaching students how to collaborate and work in teams. That has been proven effective in several programs, and we've seen the benefits of it.
I can go next. I think one important practice to keep in mind is to remember just to be mindful of your students, and knowing that it's a big undertaking to ask them up, take all these college courses to everybody wants to have a perfect program, where everybody succeeds and everybody gets maybe like the best grades and stuff. But you got to remember that all these kids are still in middle school or in high school, and they're still trying to figure themselves out. So just being mindful and trying to meet the students where they're at, and trying to support them in the best way that they can learn, so they could excel properly, instead of trying to set not unrealistic expectations, but higher expectations where they just can't reach yet, but just trying to build the blocks to get them there by the time they leave us.
And I think, well, there are so many things that I would say, but I think that I want to emphasize the power of collaboration. I think that I can tell you that I have knocked on so many doors because you can't do this alone. You can't. And on the college level, I think that sometimes we think that this is our own responsibility, solely on us. Like we are responsible for all this. And I think that we forget that we're part of a college that has all their divisions. And once you explain to people what early college is and how it's changing people's lives, you get them on board, and they help you facilitate so many things, and they support you. So I'm so grateful for all the people that helped me, because I wouldn't be able to do it alone. And the other thing that I would say would be try to be, again, I said this in the beginning, try to be intentional with everything that you do. And also transmit and send this message to the students. Sometimes I have students trying to register for classes that seem a little bit off. And as much as I want them to explore and explore different pathways and different fields, I think that our job is always trying to tell the student where is this taking you? Like, where do you want to go? Don't waste your time with classes that you're probably not going to be used because you're going into a completely different program. So I think that being intentional is super important with everything that you do, and also don't underestimate collaboration. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. A couple of just quick closing comments on my own. One, I want to pull out, we heard from the research that there are key elements that can go into building a successful program that focuses on foundational skill development to prepare students for early college and post-secondary. Really having a focus on core instruction, targeting support, and then thinking about a full range of skills to address college readiness beyond academics. And a lot of that stuff can be planned on paper, can be designed and then put forward in a program. But what I've heard over the last half hour from the three of you is the magic of the work isn't just that design, but then how it gets implemented by the people doing the work. There's the need to start early, that this isn't a one-time intervention where you get a couple of college credits. It's about building a pathway where students can see their future as early as middle school, which you might do at the Dearborn. It's about looking forward, and there's many ways to address academic skills that prepare students for what's next through that pre-teaching, as opposed to thinking about it always as remediation to catch students up. And then, Caroline, you stole my last thought, but better from you, from me, that sense of community, that like what came through loud and clear, whether it's building strong cohorts of students connecting to one another, whether it's thinking about family engagement, whether it's having a robust sense of there's a college community here to support you. High school and college is connected, just sort of where students are headed is part of that full experience. It's not just taking a class, right? And those things have made your program successful, and I think they're critical to making early college program successful. And I got that from all three of you. So I appreciate you all sharing your expertise and time with us. That is it. We are at time. So thank you. I wish there was a better way to do applause on a webinar other than to acknowledge it. But once again, appreciate it. Thanks to everyone else, Marissa, Annalise, and Alejandra. And we will make sure that this recording is posted for the field to view. Thanks, everybody.